All right, YouTube, this is Mr. Mean coming at you this Friday morning, February 5th. It is a balmy 0 degrees here in Duluth, Minnesota. We are winter wonderland. It's cold. Even for Mr. Mean, it's cold. So today's video du jour is a little different. No video game review. We're going to talk about GMing. I had a wonderful conversation with Empath. He's one of my viewers on Discord. I'm going to just adjust my camera here a little bit, tune it down. Yeah, he's a first-time GM, and I wanted to talk. I've seen a lot of videos on people talking about GMing, and one of the things that really, I don't want to say annoys me, but not even bothers me. It's an inconsistency. And you always hear this, there's so many games, so many players, and not enough GMs. Why is that? GMing is hard. That's the general consensus. I want to say no, it's not. If you can play a role-playing game, if you can sit down and roll some dice and arbitrate what your character does, you're already GMing. You're GMing your character, right? Nobody else can tell you what your character does, right? That is what you do. The dice dictate if you're successful or not, if it requires a dice roll. But when you're role-playing and you're describing what your character looks like, you're describing what your character is doing, that is you GMing your character. So you've already got the basic concept of GMing down. Now you just need to broaden your horizons. You need to look beyond your character and look at all of the characters, look at all of the situation, look at all of the environment. It's really not as hard as everybody makes it sound. And there's a number of great GM channels out there. Guy Sanders is, he's pretty good. I don't agree with everything he says. I do agree with a lot of what he says. Matthew Mercer, Critical Role, had a short run of YouTube videos where he talked about GMing and his advice. And I kind of fall along. I'm in between Matt and Guy. And the reason I say that is GMing is a personal thing. You're sitting around a table or a virtual presence, and you are telling a story that your friends and or these internet people that you've got to play your game, like say it's a virtual con, or if lucky enough this year, maybe by summertime this pandemic will be over and we'll be able to go to actual face-to-face physical cons. That would be great. I'm hoping so. But regardless, you're in an environment where you are telling a story and you have participants who are also telling a story. And I think the number one thing that a GM needs to remember is that it's a cooperative experience, right? It's not my way or the highway. When Mr. Mean is running a game, I'm not real big on telling the players no. I say yes a lot because yes has way more consequences than no does. If a player says, I want to murder that peasant, and I say no, that's the end of the consequences, right? I mean, there's nothing that follows. The player can't do it. I won't allow it. So therefore, they can't do anything that's going to get them in trouble. But if you say yes, what happens? Well, there's a ton of different consequences. I mean, and there is no right or wrong answer here. The town guard could intercept. The peasant that he murdered could belong to a very influential lord or vassal and have lots of power and make that player's life a living hell afterwards. Consequences. The king may have, that may have been a distant relative of nobility, and when they find out that you killed him, now there's a price on your head, on your character's head. So saying yes has consequences. Saying no has little to no consequences. And again, this is where it's the GM's responsibility to tell Bob, who wants to go murder the peasant, that, are you sure you want to do this? You don't know this peasant, you don't know this town, or you don't know the political powers in this town, you don't know the ramifications of, killing said peasant. Are peasants no more than slaves? Maybe no one will even bat an eye if you just slice this person down. But most times that's not the case. So that is where it can be interpreted as being GMing is hard, because you have to make those decisions. But let's take that part of the equation out of the picture and just look at the act of GMing and what it means and what is required to be a GM. I think the first thing that requires to be a GM is preparation. A lot of people say imagination and creativity. I say no, because you can see on this shelf behind me, and you can't see the books on either side, but I've got two big stacks of boxes on either side of me. There's thousands of worlds out there that you don't need to be imaginative. You just need to be able to read and comprehend. And that if you're playing role-playing games, you're already doing that. You already can read and comprehend, obviously, because you've learned the rules of D&D, you've learned the rules of Pathfinder or Traveler or the Dark Eye, whatever your game of choice is. So you've already read the rules and you understand the concepts of the rules. So part one, the hardest part is down. You know the world, you know a little bit about the world. Now here's a caveat to that rule, subsection 1, paragraph A. You don't have to memorize everything. Have the book close at hand, peruse it right before your game session, kind of brush up, like if they're going to be in the central square of the main town and there's literature on that area, read up on it, familiarize yourself with it. Maybe get a 3x5 card and make some notes. Maybe the constable of that area is named, Bob, and Bob doesn't tolerate any shenanigans in his little area. So, you very stern, peace officer. You can make that quick note. So it reminds you when you're running and the players go to murder that peasant. Well, Bob the constable is, consequences. That's the big thing for me. And I'm going to harp on that a lot. There's consequences. When you're a GM, you're an arbitrator of consequences. And I think that's really important that your players feel that sense of consequence, that their actions have consequences. So step 1, read. You don't need to be creative. You need to be adaptive. There's a difference. Creative means coming up with something on your own, figuring out, taking something from nothing. Adaptive means taking a situation and reapplying the modifiers to it, meaning is there a lot of barbarians in this area? Okay, well, now I don't need to be creative. I know there's barbarians in the area. That's not being creative. Now I can know if the players do something, maybe the barbarians step up and say, hey, you can't do that. That's not being creative. That's using what's already given to me and adapting that information to my current situation. So be adaptive. That's the big thing. You don't need to create your own world. A lot of first-time GMs get really wrapped up in I'm going to create this epic world. I'm going to create Tal'Dorei. I'm going to be Matt Mercer. You're not Matt Mercer. Matt Mercer's not you. Do your own thing. If you have the creative and adaptive imagination to create your own world, then by all means, go for it. There's tons of books out there and videos and stuff that talk about that stuff and can help you. And if you need direction, go look for it. But for your first time GMing, you don't need to create a world. There's thousands of worlds. Look at all these books behind me. There's thousands of worlds out there that are already created. You don't need to do any work. Read up on them, be familiar with the basic premise of the environment, and go forth and role play. You're just another character like the players. You just have a little more authority and agency than the players. Some of the best games I've ever run, the players are telling as much of the story as I'm telling. And I'm just abdicating the rules, which is some of the best sessions I've ever had and is a lot of fun. So be adaptive. Don't recreate the wheel. It's already created for you. Thousands of books out there, thousands of game worlds. Now, the second part is everybody wants to jump on the D&D bandwagon. D&D may not be the game for you. I'm not saying it's a bad game. Everybody on the channel that follows me knows how I feel about D&D. I don't mind playing it. I never want to GM it. It's just not the game that I find interesting to run. That's me. But you may love it. But don't be hornswoggled by I have to run D&D or I have to run Pathfinder because my favorite GM or my group only wants to play this. If you got a group together and they want to play a game, they'll play whatever game you run. It's the, if you build it, they will come syndrome. Now, they may not like the game, but at least, sit down with everybody and say, hey, Tom, Jerry, Phil, and Maggie, this is the game I'm going to run. here's a PDF copy of it, or here's a brief synopsis of the world. Here's the website. Here's a video, of talking about the world that somebody else did, or maybe you're creative enough to do it yourself. You don't have to be, and by no means am I saying you have to create a video to introduce your players to the world. But it's a game system and a world that maybe is interest to you. That's the number one key. I don't have any interest in running D&D, so if I'm hornswoggled into running a D&D game campaign, it's not going to be good. I don't care how good of a GM you are. If you're not vested in it, if you're not interested in it, it's not going to be fun. And the players are going to feel that, and they're not going to want to play. And you're going to be going through game groups every time you turn around because people are going to sense that you're not into it. So find something that you're into and then read up on it, learn about it, set a date, do some homework. GMing does require a lot of work. There's no getting around that. If you half-ass it, your players will know it. You'll know it. Everybody will feel it, and the session won't be that great. And let's face it. We're getting together for 2 to 4 hours over the internet right now, or maybe you're lucky enough to game in person. But for the most part, we're all pretty much gaming remotely. Don't waste anybody's time, but don't. Now, the flip side of that is don't feel like you're wasting anybody's time. You're telling a story that's engaging to you and you like the concepts and the precepts of that story. If your enthusiasm and your information and, dare I say, professionalism comes through, the players are going to pick up on that and they're going to enjoy it as well. And I'll speak more about that in a little bit. But you don't have to be a subject matter expert. You just have to be knowledgeable about the environment in which you're playing in. And I would say start small. I got 3 examples here of varying rules mechanics. So, and I just wanted to bring these up as examples. So this one, let's see, Cameron Orwin, he's one of my followers on my YouTube channel. He wrote The Mudlark Hack. This is available on DriveThruRPG. If I remember, I'll put links in the doobly-doo. This is, how many pages are we talking? We're talking 24 pages. It's a pamphlet, guys. I've read more sterner stuff at my doctor's office. So, and it's got some cool little bit of art in it, on the cover and the back, and it's just a simple RPG that you can play and make characters in. And you're done. This is rules light. This is as rules light as it gets. Can't get much easier than this. 24 pages. Most of it is character creation, and then you can run whatever you want. You can set whatever world you want. So super rules light, super easy, maybe $5 on DriveThruRPG. It might even be free now. I don't remember. I'll try to put links in the doobly-doo for all of these that I talk about. But super rules light, super easy, 24 pages. You can read this an hour before your game and be ready to play, all right, and help your players make characters and then start telling a story. And you could easily use your favorite D&D setting or adventure and use these rules and just do away with the D&D rules. So the most important part, one of the most important parts of GMing is knowing and advocating the rules. So start, if it's your first time and you're nervous, don't grab the Zweihander book on the shelf there or the City of Mist, a 3-inch tome that'll stop a bullet, and try to absorb that and try to run that your very first game session. Now, if you have the time and the effort and the will, go for it. But most of us don't. We have jobs, or we have school, and we have parents, and we have family, and we have friends that we have to spend time with. And if you spend too much time absorbed in all of this, those things are going to lack. And it's time management 101. So start small, work your way up, get a feel for GMing, for narrative storytelling, for dice, for role storytelling. Some people like to just kick in the door, kill the monsters, and move on to the next adventure. There's no wrong or right way. My biggest thing that I always say about tabletops, RPGs, or any game, whether it be Xbox, tabletop, board games, if everyone at the table is having fun, then you're doing it right. That's the biggest caveat right there. If everyone's having a good time, then you're doing it right. One of my players, Anthony, is new to role-playing games, and he doesn't care what game we play. He just wants to sit down and explore the character and explore the rules, and everything is just bright-eyed and bushy-tailed with him. He's so excited to learn a new game. And then I have another player, his son Kale, who's in school, who's got a lot on his plate as a teenager, and does a lot of hobbies and plays a lot of Xbox, because let's face it, we're digital kids now. He doesn't want to learn more rules. He just wants to sit down and play the one system he knows, and that's all he wants to do. And there's no wrong or right. Both of them are right. And if both of them walk away from the game table at the end of the night and go, wow, I had fun, then that's all that matters. You won. You did a good thing. And so that's what I'm saying. Start small, work your way up. Unless you've got infinite amounts of time and you're wealthy, then feel free to support the channel through Patreon. It's a little shameless plug there I did. Link will be in the doobly-doo. And send me copies of RPGs so I can review them. But most of us don't have that luxury, and we have to go to work, 5-6 days a week, sometimes 7. So start small. Mudlark Hack. Awesome. There's tons of these on Drive-Thru RPG that are slim, easy to learn, quick and fast, and a lot of fun. So, Cameron, thank you so much for sending this to me, buddy. I really appreciate it. This is version 1.2. I think there is an updated version, so go check it out on Drive-Thru RPG. Remember to use my affiliate link, and that saves you $1 and puts a couple pennies in my pocket. But I believe this is pay what you want or even free. So, Cameron, great job on this, sir. I did a review of it before. Go back in the doobly-doo and check it out. But, yeah, start small. This is rules light, extremely rules light. Well, then you move on. You say, John, I have a little free time. Mr. Mean, I want to learn something a little more in depth. Well, then you go to a system that's still kind of rules light but has a little more crunch to it. Something like Zombie Squad. This is the deluxe copy. I love the cover, by the way. This is by Feral Games, Inc., and my good buddy James over there, or Jay. I keep forgetting which one he goes by. I always call him the wrong name. But he's in England, and this guy just spits games out like I spit out words. So he's amazing. He just had a recent Kickstarter that did really well, Stranded. I'm actually today working on the adventure that was part of the Kickstarter, and I'll hopefully get that to Jay this weekend or early next week. But Zombie Squad, great game, kind of tongue-in-cheek. You can play it seriously if you want. You're part of a penal squad. You're on death row, and there's shitty missions out there that have to get done, and they don't want to waste really good soldiers. So they go to the prisons, the military prisons, and they get you guys. And this tells you how to make a character. The art in here is awesome. The mechanics are awesome, pretty easy to pick up. You can use what you want, and you don't have to use it. It's really, really well done. Cool art in the book. I've also got a review of this on my channel, so go check it out. But again, this is medium. I would say this is medium crunch. There's an expanded, pretty easy character creation. You can really build out your soldier. This is kind of obviously in a futuristic military slant game, sci-fi if you want. But it's kind of open world. You can kind of do what you want. He does have some monsters and some critters in here and pirates. So if you wanted to run Firefly, you could use this to run Firefly. Totally. You can change around the whole penal colony thing. You don't even have to use that. You could still create your characters and just make them, sci-fi. So really good system, super light, not super light, light, a little bit of crunch, but a lot of flavor. Again, relatively cheap book. It's on Drive-Thru RPG. Again, this you can read in maybe a day, maybe 2 days if you spread out your time, and you'll have a good concept of the environment and what it takes to make a character. You can even make pre-gens for your players, and you guys can dive right in and play. And it's got a light, easy rules mechanic. So again, nothing too crunchy, nothing too hard, and you can be up and playing in minutes. So it's another one I highly recommend. As for new GMs, it's not a terribly difficult system. So we go from super rules light to rules light. I'd say low crunch, but you can make it a little crunchier if you want. And then you go into something that, to what I consider, is really rules crunch and really heavy. And if you're going to dive into it, you're making a serious time commitment. The Dark Eye, great set of rules, but it has a lot of rules. This book is pretty dense. This is 414 pages, including the character sheet. 414 pages. Now, this is the digest size or whatever they call it. I have the down there in the bottom, I have the full-size books. This is one of my all-time favorite RPGs. I love The Dark Eye. The world, this is Germany's version of D&D. And where D&D has gone, Forgotten Realms and Eberron and Faerun, they've kind of got ADD of worlds. This is one world, man, and they've expounded upon it for the last 30 years. It's very well written. It's the rules mechanics are a little steep, but again, you can start small and only use the base mechanics and then add more rules. And that's kind of what I was getting at with these 3 books is there's 2 ways you can kind of go at it. You can dive in head first and get something that's kind of crunchy like D&D, Pathfinder, The Dark Eye, which is crunchier than all of those put together, Eclipse Phase, super crunchy rule system, but very rewarding. It's a percentile-based system. But you can go in with this and only use the basic rules to play the game. And then as you become more familiar, you can add in rules. And they even give you information on how to do that. Or, you can go super light and just dive in and, basic rules. And when you get comfortable with this, you can move on to something like this or a derivative of, it doesn't have to be these games, obviously. But my point is you learn the rules at your pace and what's comfortable for you. And when you feel like you have a grasp on those base rules, then you can expound upon them. You can add more rules. D&D is actually pretty good for that because there's a ton of extra rules out there for D&D. When you go to the DM's Guild, on Drive-Thru-RPG, and you can download all kinds of extra rules for a nominal price, sometimes even free. Or you start adding, like the Tal'Dorei source book, which is going to add new classes and new rules. So it's up to you. But what I'm saying is learn at your pace, and as long as your players are aware of that, then you're going to be doing well. And, and another big thing I think about GMing is, it is kind of hard, but it's also super rewarding and it's super fun because players will never do what you expect them to do. If you expect them to choose A, they're going to choose B. If you expect them to choose B, they're going to choose A. And it's not even a 50-50 shot. Sometimes that you expect them to choose A and they choose W, and you're like, what? But that for them, that's the enjoyment and that's the way they want to go. So you have to be adaptive, keyword there, and abdicating the rules to make it so that they can do that. Say yes. You want to go kill the peasant? Sure, you can do that. Not a problem. Be aware there are town guards. There are rules. Ignorance of the law is no excuse. You're going to have to answer for your misdeeds, and that kind of thing. So, but GMing can be it can be as hard as you want it to be, or it can be as easy as you want it to. My good friend Brian is a speed reader. He learned how to speed read, I think in grade school or maybe high school. I'm not sure. But he's been doing it basically all his life. He can read a book this thick in a couple of minutes. And he can tell you about the book. That's the whole point of speed reading, is to read in a fast manner, but be cognizant of what's happening on what you're reading and way to pick out keywords. And it's a learned trait. I've never learned it. I do read relatively fast, but I don't read anywhere near as fast as Brian. And then he can go back and read it a second time and pick up even more on slight things he might have missed. But the point there is that we all can't do that, right? If we could, life would probably be better, but it's not. So, I had to read this twice to go through it to figure out how to actually play it. But I picked up more each time I read it. So, like when I have downtime or a break at work, I crack open one of the Pathfinder books and I read a little bit of it because I'm running Pathfinder and I need to know as much about the world as I can, because inevitably the players are going to want to go, hey, what's going on over there? And I'm going to have to be able to tell them. I can make it up on the fly, and a lot of times I do, and that's part of being a good GM, is that adaptive, thinking and thinking on your feet, so to speak, on the fly. So yes, GMing is hard, but it is also extremely rewarding, and it's a lot of fun. And if you get a group that you gel with, and if you're the kind of group that you want to kick in the door and kill the monster, take the treasure, get better loot, and then move on to the next tougher dungeon or space, arena or whatever it is, that's fine. There's no wrong way to play it as long as everybody's having fun and everybody's on the same page. The other thing I see happen a lot is the GM wants to tell a deep, immersive story about longing and lost and love gone awry, but the players want to be mercenaries and kill everything in the room. That's a recipe for disaster. The GM is on a different page than the players, and the players are on a different page than the GM. So everybody is not cohesive, and they don't know what they want to do. So if you're a new GM and you want, man, Mr. Mean, I want to learn how to GM, I say you get with your gaming group, first decide what game you're going to play. Everybody agrees on a game. Hopefully you have more than one copy of the rule book or a PDF, and so everybody can read up and read. Everybody's going to read differently. The players might dive into the player section. The GM obviously is going to dive into like the GM section and maybe the combat section, and then the players are going to read the combat section because let's face it, conflict in these games is half the fun. So everybody's going to read the parts that they gravitate to first, and they're going to enjoy it, and that's fine. But then hopefully they're going to start reading the other parts. So yeah, sorry, I had to pause there and I had to come back. I heard a strange sound in the house. I'm here alone today, so the wife and the baby are at work and school, so it was kind of crazy. It was a creepy noise. Everything's okay. So the players are going to read the parts they want to read. The GM's going to read the parts they want to read, and we're all going to come together and we're going to be excited about it. So sit down, figure out, if you want to play, if everybody wants to play D&D, great. And you've all decided on the game system. And 9 out of 10 times, and this is the other thing that's very frustrating for a GM, is the players will go, "Oh, I don't care, whatever you want to run." They do care. What kind of game do you want to play? Do you want to play, a love story with tragedy and turmoil at every corner and political intrigue? D&D might not be the right game for that. Maybe you want to play Blue Rose, or maybe you want to play A Song of Ice and Fire. That might be a better game mechanic suited to that genre and style of game that you want to play. But the players need to have the input. And, one of the things about players that differs from GMs is GMs are a little more, for the most part, are a little more imaginative, a little more outgoing and responsive, whereas players are sometimes introverted or kind of quiet, or they don't necessarily want to think. They want you to tell them what they want to do, and then they'll do it. But the problem is, in the back of their mind, if they're not in for that, right? If they're not in for that love story RPG, then they're just sitting there chucking dice and there's no vested interest, and you're going to feel it. The rest of the players are going to feel it. So everybody's going to have a bad time. Maybe not right away, but eventually that feeling is going to come out, and that player is going to start calling in sick. He or she is going to bail on sessions and stuff, and then eventually they'll just stop coming. I've seen it happen a million times. So make sure you sit down and first you say, as the GM, what kind of story you want to play, but I would keep that part back, and I would ask the players, what do they want to play? What are you looking for in a game? Do you want to, so let's just say for the age-old ad, we're going to settle on the Dark Eye. All my players have sat down and we've all agreed. I said, hey, I want to run the Dark Eye. What do you guys feel about it? And they said, oh yeah, that sounds cool. I said, okay, we have a lot of different types of story. We could be a mercenary band. We could be just an adventuring group. We could be just some random characters that come together in a situation. What kind of adventures and stories do you guys want to tell? And, hopefully they'll give you some feedback. And 9 out of 10 times you're going to hear whatever you want to run, man. Okay, well, this is what I'm thinking. And then you tell them, I want to run a love story. Maybe there's these two princes, or a prince and a duchess, and they're in love, but, they're from two different parts of the land, and so their kingdoms don't get along. Andergast, and I forgot the other one for the Dark Eye. But yeah, there is such an adventure, actually, for the Dark Eye. But, for argument's sake, and maybe you guys are going to get embroiled in that and try to have to, are you going to stop them? Are you going to keep them apart? Are you going to help them come together and maybe foster goodwill between the two lands, and then, crazy things are going to happen, and, maybe a servant's going to be killed and this guy's going to blame that guy and you guys are going to investigate. And that's the kind of adventure I want to run. Are you guys down with that? Does that sound good? So we're going to have some combat, but it's going to be a lot of drama, a lot of storytelling, a lot of political scenes. Is everybody okay with that? And of course your players are most likely to go, oh yeah, that's okay, that's cool, yeah, we'll do that. Again, reiterate, not a lot of combat in this game. So if you're going to play a dwarven, tunnel fighter in a love story campaign, you're probably not going to see a lot of action. Your skills aren't going to be up to par, and you're probably going to be bored, and that sucks. There's nothing worse than sitting somewhere for 2 to 3 hours and being bored and thinking, gee, I should rearrange my sock drawer. So make sure the players are all on the same page and they understand what type of adventure you want to run. And the main thing here is you want to run an adventure or a campaign that they want to play in. So you kind of have to be like a used car salesman and you have to sell it to them and say, this is what I'm thinking, and then inevitably one of the players will go, yeah, and would we be able to do this? Yeah, I think we can work that in. Or, oh, that's not really part of my thing. But remember what I said earlier about saying no, say yes. Yeah, it's going to be an adventure about intrigue and love and warring factions. But there may just be some tunnel fighting because there are tunnels that run under that land. And even if there's not, you can add them. It's your game. You can do whatever you want. So if that tunnel fighter, doesn't really want to play a love story, basically, and I'm just using that as an example, you can say, yeah, there'll be some sort of, underground exploration and stuff where your skills would come in very handy. So yeah, we can do that, and you make a note and you So you're already building the campaign just by talking to the players and finding out what they want. And then enthusiasm breeds enthusiasm, right? And so that one player says, oh, well, what about tunnel fighting? And, will my dwarf be able to, and you say yes, and and then another player's going, oh, well, he can get what he wants. Can I'm an archer. Is there going to be a where we can fight out in the fields and I can use my bow and I can, Yes. Now your guys are collaborative building and they don't even know it. They're just telling you what they want, which is helping you as the GM set up the adventure or campaign. Hopefully we're talking campaign and you can, and everybody will have fun. But I think the key things to take away here is be prepared, be adaptive, and be willing to say yes. Those three things I think are big for a GM, and it can go a lot deeper in that. But I was tired of seeing all these videos where everyone's telling you how to be a GM. There is no right way to be a GM. The way to be a GM is what your players enjoy and what you enjoy. If you enjoy kicking in the doors and killing all the monsters and taking their loot and then going back to town and selling it and leveling up and never once role play, never once talk to a merchant, and everybody's having fun, then you did it right. That's a good GM. If your players are happy and everybody's enjoying it, that's a good GM. You've done it. You've achieved what you set out to do, and you win. Now, if your players want a role play experience where they're going to haggle and barter and they're going to talk to the local constable, but all you're doing is, as a GM, you're throwing them combat encounters where they don't get to role play and they've got to fight Monster X, 17 times, and they come back to town and then they get more loot, and then you throw, okay, now you're in the dungeon again, you're in the next level of the dungeon, and your players are like, oh, when do we get to talk to somebody? When do we get to, bamboozle somebody? Or when does the thief get to pick pockets? So you got to know what kind of game you're going to play and what kind of game you want to play, and more importantly, what your players want to play, because without them, there is no you, and without you, there is no them. That's very Confucius, but it is the truth. I don't care how good this game is. To me, it's one of the better games out there. If I throw this book on the floor, it cannot jump up and run itself. It needs me as the GM to bring this world alive. And if my players take the time and they read a little bit about it and they get excited about it, and then we both bring that world to life, then this is a great game and we've had fun. And that is the name of the game, is having fun. We get together for this 2 to 3, 4 hours, and we tell a collaborative story. And again, if it's in depth and intrigue and romance and betrayal and, political intrigue, or if it's just kicking in the door and killing in monsters or going from one battle to the next battle, as long as we, the collective we, are all having fun, then we win. We've done the right thing. And that's what's important. That's what it means to me to be a GM. I can't tell you what it means to be a GM. I can't tell you how to be a GM. I can tell you how I GM and what works for me, and then you can decide if that works for you. And really, it is a method of trial and error. The way Matt Mercer tells a story, the way Guy Sanders tells a story, the way Nonat tells a story is completely different from the way I tell a story, and completely different from the way you tell a story. So it's finding your method, your principles, and things that work for you that is going to make it enjoyable. So start small, build upon layers. You don't have to do voice. Guy Sanders on How to Be a Great GM has a great video on how to bring NPCs to life where you don't have to do stupid voices, because Guy is British and he really only has one voice and he just goes up and down in octaves. He's horrible at voice acting. And he's done a little bit professionally, believe it or not, but he's not that great at it. So he doesn't do a lot of voices when he runs a game. Matt Mercer is a voice actor. He's a trained professional voice actor. Don't try to be him. You're going to fail. He's a trained professional. He gets paid to do that for a living. Don't try to be Matt Mercer. Be you. Have fun. I tell my players a lot of times, I'll start a voice to give them a picture in their mind, and then I say, well, that's too hard on my throat. I'm not going to do that, but that's how he speaks. And they go, oh, okay. So when I say Bob the Butcher, and Bob the Butcher talks like this all the time, and he sounds like he smoked 12 packs of Camels a day. Well, obviously, to keep up an extended conversation like that is painful for me, and it's going to get old real quick for the players. But when I do that introduction, and that's how Bob the Butcher speaks, the next time I mention Bob, they hear that in their head. I don't have to do the voice. They already hear it. They're hearing, so I smoked 12 packs of cigarettes a day. They hear that in their head. So they have an image and an audible cue to what Bob the Butcher looks and sounds like, because I've given it to him the first time. I don't have to keep doing it. So you don't have to do voices. You don't have to put on costumes unless you want to. Again, that's the joy of this. Do what you want, what's comfortable, what makes you happy, and you have fun with. If you don't have fun doing voices, or you don't feel like you can do voices, then you don't have to do voices. It's very easy. And especially if you have new players, don't force them or don't ask them if they're not comfortable. Hey, how does your player sound? You don't have to, the players don't have to, if they want to. You'll always have that one or two players that are very flamboyant and artistic, and they can draw pictures of their character. That's great. Leverage that. Hey, can you draw a picture of this character? Can you draw a picture of his character? Man, it's really cool. And even if it's not art that's to your style, don't stymie them. Congratulate them. Thank them for it, because it makes them feel more immersed and more invested in the game, because now they're providing the art for your game. Even if it's not the art style that you like, it doesn't matter. It's from their perspective, and that's cool. Your player is so into it that they're drawing art for you. It doesn't get any better than that. Even if it's freaking stick figures with colors, it's still cool, because you don't have to do it, A, and B, they're excited enough to do that, to take their time. Here's the thing. Playing games takes time. And if you're willing to put that time in and your players give you more, then that's a sign you're doing it right. That's a sign that your players are having fun and they're invested in the story, in the system, in the mechanics, and they're invested in you. Because if you don't GM, you guys don't get to play, right? Most groups aren't fortunate enough to have 2 or 3 GMs. So if you're the GM and no one else is stepping up to the plate, there's no game. So definitely, that's where I say your choices and your preferences come into play and are paramount, but you have to consider what everybody else wants. If you want to play the dark eye, but everybody else wants to play the mudlark, you're doomed to failure. Your game's not gonna go. Now, you may get lucky, very strong emphasis on the may, and they may come to enjoy the dark eye, but if it were me and I was in that situation, I would be like, okay, well, what's in the mudlark that's not in here, and why do my players want to play this? And I might talk to them and say, hey, Gary, Bob, Jeff, Luann, why do you want to play the mudlark and not the dark eye? And the simple thing they may say is, because this is easier. And then I'm like, oh, okay, so it's just a matter of the rules are intimidating. I tell you what, we're going to play this, but I'm going to streamline the rules because there's information in here as a GM to tell me to start slow with the rules. And so I'm going to take that to heed, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to use just the bare base mechanics. I'm not going to throw in all the extra stuff, and I'm going to see how the players do. Well, maybe we'll do a session 0, and we'll just do a short little story and see how and let them come back to me and say, okay, guys, that was the dark eye. That's the basic rules of the dark eye. How do you feel? And they might go, you know what? That wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. Or, ooh, I really like my character. Make the character for them, which is that's another subject. Making characters as a GM is a great way to learn the system and to learn the caveats of the system from the player's point of view. Because, again, the GM is just another player. You just have a little more power. So making characters and understanding how to make a character is going to really help the players get into that game. When you can answer effectively questions that they have about character creation, then that gives them a sense of, okay, the GM knows what he's talking about, or she knows what they're talking about, so I feel confident that they're going to be able to answer my questions. I catch myself doing this all the time. I'm really bad at this because I'm busy and I have way too much on my plate than I can afford, and someone will ask me a question about the mechanics, and I'll say, well, read the book. And that's not always the right answer. I should be knowledgeable of the rules that I can answer them. And I default to that because A, it's lazy, let's face it, and I'm busy, and I have a toddler, I have a 4-year-old at home. These are excuses. They're not answers. They're excuses. And excuses are like assholes. Everybody's got one. So whatever I can do to make it easier for the player to get into the game is great. Now, I do strongly believe that if you've been playing a game for 6 sessions or 5 sessions or whatever, and then a player comes and asks you a basic question that they should already know, then I tell them to read the book, because I need a vested interest, invested interest from you for me to do what I'm doing. So I think it goes both ways, and you have to set that expectation with the players. You have to say, hey, I need you guys to read this, or I need you to understand this, or this is your character. I need you to know what your character does, because I'm the GM and I'm handling all this over here. You can handle this over here. This is your character. I need you to take care of it and own it. And if you go in with those expectations, you'll find that your GMing job will be a lot easier. Say yes. You don't always have to say no. Say yes. Make them aware of the consequences, and play the system. And make sure that you're running a game that everyone wants to play. And in order to do that, you have to talk to the players. And if they say, oh, I'll play whatever you want to run, say, no. Because I want to run, lesbian rats in outer space. I don't think you're going to want to play that game. So, and they're going to go, yeah, no, I don't want to play that. So then don't say whatever I want to run, because I'm going to run lesbian rats in outer space, the role-playing game. And you're going to be and you're not going to show up, and you're going to ruin the fun for everybody, and, blah, blah, blah. So make sure you everybody's on the same page. We all have a desire and know what we want to play, and that we're excited about it, and that we're willing to put in the interest. I think it's very pertinent for the GM to set the level of expectation for the players. This is what I want from you guys. Okay, we've decided we're going to play the dark guy. We're going to play a romance intrigue adventure where you guys are going to be troubleshooters and helping out the star-crossed lovers, and hopefully get them together, and maybe there's going to be some politics involved. Here's what I need. This is the type of characters we want. And maybe work with each player to make their character, and reiterate as they're going through the character creation process that, okay, there's going to be a lot of courtly intrigue in this. So you're going to want some social skills. You're not going to want to put all your points into combat, because that's not going to help you very much in the courting chambers or the audience with the king. So make sure everybody's on the same page. Help guide them. That's what a GM does. And all of this stuff just comes from experience. Just start doing it. No one wakes up overnight and goes, boom, I'm a great GM. No, it takes time. It takes years. Everyone just does it. The more and more they do it, the easier it becomes, and you rely on past experiences. So start small, work your way up. Don't be afraid to say yes. Be inquisitive, learn about the world that you're running in, even if it's your own world. There's nothing wrong with looking at the player over to your right and going, okay, so you're from Andergast. Tell me about Andergast. And make those notes, and then make sure that you weave that into the story at a future date. Notes, I can't tell you, for me, a post-it note next to I have 3x5 or 5x3 cards that I keep next to my GMing table when I'm running a game. And I will make notes on those throughout the course of the game. Players don't know what I'm writing, but a lot of times it's really cool things that they've said that have sparked my imagination. And so I make a note of it to inflect that into the world at a later date, or even later that night. Or maybe they've interacted with an NPC a certain way, and I make a note, Bob really pissed off the bartender. So, next time Bob sees the bartender's not going to be so friendly, may not want to give him any information or make it cost more. That's a simple note that brings, Bob's going to remember, Bob the player is going to remember that he had that social altercation with that bartender. And so the next time he goes back to talk to that bartender, he's most likely going to be like, shit, I got to talk to this guy, and the bartender's going to be like, oh yeah, asshole, I remember you. So that brings your world alive. It's little things like that. And you'll learn that through time and just playing the game. And your players will even be great about reminding you, remember, we spoke to this guy 3 months ago. And your players don't forget, because when they're invested in the story, they'll remember a lot of shit that you forget. Even if you're the best note taker in the world, you will forget stuff. But there will be that one player at the table that writes a journal, of everything that happens, and will remember every NPC that you've had. So do your due diligence, and remember, it might even help set up a recorder and record your first 2 or 3 sessions, and listen to it later after everybody's gone and it's just you. Modern, devices now are awesome, iPads, cell phones. Set it to record and just record the audio. Let your players know, hey, I'm recording this so I can go back and look at the notes later. But be aware, and be polite about it, obviously. But yeah, that's another great way to self-GM and to pick up on things you might have missed in the game. GMing is so much fun, and you get to tell a story, and you get people sitting on the edge of their seats, and they care about what you're saying. They want to know what you think. You're bringing this world alive to them. And it's better than reading any book, because books don't read themselves. Now, you're basically reading a book to your players. So make it evocative, make it adventuresome, make it playful, make it witty. And if those things aren't in your wheelhouse, I guarantee you over time they will be. You will learn, and you'll make your players laugh. A funny, well-timed joke, a quirk from an NPC, all of those things become memorable to the players and to you, and it'll make and the more you do it, and the more you feel comfortable in this second skin that you're wearing as a GM, the easier it becomes, and the more fun you'll have. And I've been GMing for almost 30 years now, and I'm having more fun today than I remember cracking open that D&D pamphlet, because the first set of D&D I had was a pamphlet. It wasn't a box or a book. My mom bought it for me, and I remember reading and just was enamored. And then I remembered running it for my friends in school, and we were just, we were all raptured, because it was nothing like that existed. And here it is 30 years later, and I'm doing the same thing. And 2 of my players have never played a role-playing game before, and they're knee deep in this Pathfinder adventure that I'm going to run tonight. Age of Ashes. I'm starting that campaign. It's one of the few campaigns I've ran as a GM where I've run right out of the book. Because I'm using Foundry VTT, and so I want to kind of keep everything legit. But I'm super excited, and I'm telling you, I'm just giddy with the thought of running tonight for these guys and seeing the look on their faces when they see the adventure unfold and they level up, and the excitement that they get. And it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be some training wheels, and because we're using a Foundry. I'm more of a theater of the mind guy and sitting at the table and telling a good story. But I'm gonna try the Foundry and try to make it work and give the players a little bang for their buck. And I think it's going to work out really well. I'm very excited. And so here it is 30 years later, and I'm trying new stuff. So don't ever be afraid to learn. Be adaptive, be flexible, be willing to listen to your players and give them what they want. If they want, story X, give them story X on your terms. And you'll find that the players keep coming back. They'll be more than excited to play again. And definitely don't be afraid to go out on a limb and try new things. I know a lot of people are really, they can't GM D&D. They feel it's too much, but they'll run a Powered by the Apocalypse game because it's a narrative storytelling game with very little dice rolling in it. So there's something out there for everybody. Take your time, look around it, do a couple YouTube searches. Hey, feel free to reach out to Mr. Mean and ask me. You can see I got quite the games library, and I'd like to think that I'm somewhat knowledgeable in the gaming environment. So if I can provide some help, feel free to hit me up on my Discord. So that's pretty much the video, guys. We went almost an hour. I just wanted to maybe just give a little GM information. I don't want to call it advice. GM information. I think that's what the title is going to be. Not how to be a GM, because I can't tell you how to be a GM. It's something you have to learn, and you learn by doing. It's one of those, it's like any trade skill. It's like a carpenter. You can read about making a box frame all day long, but until you physically make it, you don't know how to make it. So yeah. So that's the end of the video. We're going to go into some housekeeping and stuff like that. So if you don't want to stay for that stuff, feel free to move along. And we will. I'm going to take a quick pause and get set up to do. I want to do some shout outs and go over some other stuff, housekeeping stuff. But thanks everybody for watching. And I will, as I always say, peace, a hair grease. And remember, Mr. Mean says be nice, but I'm going to be right back. So if you want to see the shout outs and talk about the other stuff, hang on. All right, we're back, YouTube. So into the video, I like to do a little housekeeping. So as always, like and subscribe. Tell your friends. Let's grow the mini army. We're up to 850 subscribers. So thank you guys so much for growing and expanding the mini horde. We've decided to go from the mini army to the mini horde. I like it. And we've got people in Germany, Austria, the Netherlands. I've got followers all over. So you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for spending your time with me and listening to me babble about things. It means a lot. I like all the positive comments. Please be aware that when you make a comment on one of my videos, I try to go in and at least like it and read. I read all the comments. So obviously feel free to comment on videos. I have a Discord channel. The link it'll be in the doobly-doo down below, but it's also on my main YouTube page when you go there. I have a Patreon page as well. It's $5 a month. I keep it very simple. What it does is get you into drawings for books and stuff like that. If I have extras or if publishers send me extra copies, I put everybody in for a drawing, my Patreon subscribers in, and I mail it out to you at my cost. So that's a little freebie. It's just something nice to do. Also get you first dibs on games I run. If I'm GMing, you can get in and play in a game. Nasser's made it into a couple of my games. Cosmic Flux has made it into a couple of my games. Those are two on my Patreon. So thank you guys very much for supporting the channel. It means a lot. It's $5 a month. It's Patreon. Everybody knows how Patreon works. And it also gets you a special designator on the Discord channel that you're a Patreon subscriber. So you're in a nice bright blue so everyone can see that you are a Patreon subscriber. Also, if you're a publisher and you join my Discord, please let me know and send me a link to your website and or your publications. Like I didn't know Hobbs of Hobbs Gamer Hub he's published. He's got a couple OSR things out there, hacks and things. And he's actually officially published. So I changed Hobbs to the publisher color. So yeah, obviously I love to do reviews. I give you my honest opinion. If your game sucks, I tell you it sucks. If it's great, I tell you it's great. If I think it's okay, I'll tell you it's okay, and what I think you need to do to fix it. In my opinion, it's just that, hard copy is greatly appreciated. I have very bad eyes, and I'm getting old, as the old saying goes. So PDFs I can read, but I got to blow them up on the screen, and it's a hassle. And physical books are just easier to read. But I understand not everybody can afford to do that. So obviously, I leave it to the publisher's discretion if you want to send me a physical copy or send me a PDF. Either one is fine, but I do prefer the physical book. So yeah, the Patreon is $5 a month. Get you all that stuff I listed, and get you on the channel. Sometimes I'll often reach out and say, hey, I'm doing that game, which I'm overdue. I was supposed to have done one, and I was going to do one in January, and of course January's come and gone. So I'm going to have to try and work out a night. Even though I'm working from home, work has been very busy, and it's a good thing. I'm happy to be employed, and I'm happy to be gainfully employed and working quite hard. But it also leaves less time to do cool things like doing YouTube videos. This is the part of the show where I like to give a couple of shout outs to all the new subscribers. So I think we gave this one last week, Sean Delap, but thank you, sir, for subscribing. Tohawk. I think that's the same Tohawk that is a Dark Eye fan, and he just recently joined my channel, and I want to say a big shout out to him and to Phil. I think it's Phil T. They're both, I believe, German, or they live some in and around the Germany area, and they pointed out some Dark Eye books to me, and so I was able to I picked up two of them. One of them is it's next to my bed. Sorry. But I started reading the one. I think the other one will be here today. So a big shout out to Tohawk and Phil. But Tohawk appears to be a Dark Eye fan. And so, just as a heads up, I just got the notification while I had paused the video that Foundry VTT has signed a partnership with Ulysses Spiel US to produce The Dark Eye as a official platform for Foundry VTT. So there'll be a rule set that'll be imported into Foundry that will allow you to play The Dark Eye. So I'm all over that. Expect a game coming soon. So let's see here. So who else do we have? Winter Lear, Ryder Lear. I think we gave a shout out to you last week too. But anyway, if I said your name right, I hope so. Welcome aboard. And Tetrafon, Tetrafon, thank you so much for subscribing. See, I'm going through all my notes here. There's no good way to find out new subscribers. YouTube doesn't give you a list. So you have to go through your notifications, and every time somebody posts on a video or whatever, that's a notification. So I have to scroll through everything. Pauper Knight, awesome name. Thank you for subscribing. I hope you find some cool stuff. Let's see here. Who else? John, was it Jungrin? So thank you for subscribing. And that's it. That's all of the new subscribers. So I just did a video last week on Chivalry and Sorcery, and I believe it's up over 100 views, which is awesome. Normally it takes quite a while for my videos to get that, because people put them on in the background or they wait or whatever. So I really appreciate you taking the time to listen to me ramble. If you're working on hobby stuff, maybe put my channel on in the background and just let it go through. YouTube's algorithm is weird, and one of the requirements to get not funded, I forgot what it's called now, but in order to make money off of YouTube, you have to have a minimum of 1,000 subscribers, and you have to have X amount of hours of listening time. I'm real close to the 1,000 subscribers. Obviously, I'm 150 away now, and I'm real close to the listening hours in order to be monetized. That's the keyword I was looking for. So if you guys don't mind helping out the channel, just throw it on in the background, let it play, let the videos just spawn. I've got over 300 videos up, guys. Most of them on the average of about 15 to 30 minutes long. Some go a little bit longer, some go a little bit less. This one today is almost going to be an hour. So I hope you found that GM advice and information helpful and insightful. If you agree or disagree, feel free to put notes down in the comments below. Let's see what else. I'm obviously on Discord. Like I said, there's a link on my YouTube channel. There'll be a link in the doobly-doo. I'm also on ZellyPay. You can always, if you're in the U.S. and you want to do a one-time donation to the channel, you can use ZellyPay. It's usually banked into your mobile app. Just go look for it. It's usually under, it says ZellyPay, Z-E-L-L-E. Also, I'm on PayPal, PayMe/John Polak, P-O-L-A-C-K. Again, if you want to do a one-time donation, feel free. Be advised that any money that goes into the channel, or that comes into me, goes back into the channel. I have a gainfully employed job, and so the money that I make off of all my YouTube stuff goes back into the channel. Like I just bought this boom arm, which for the desk I have is not great. It's not staying seated very well, and I'm always afraid I'm going to drop the mic. My YouTube subscribers and Patreons and stuff help pay for the Blue Snowball and all that stuff. So yeah, the money goes back into the channel. I also have a drive-through affiliate link, which will be down in the doobly-doo as well. And what that does is when you buy something through my link, I get a little cut from it. This is pennies on the dollar. It's not a whole lot, but it adds up. So if you're going to buy something off of Drive-Thru RPG and you don't already have an affiliate link that you're using, please use mine and help support the channel. It goes a lot. Big shout out to Kid Chaos 2. He's a subscriber on YouTube, and he buys a lot of things through Drive-Thru. So I really appreciate your patronage, sir. It really helps out the channel, and be aware that it is noticed and appreciated very much. So guys, that's really about it. I've babbled on for about an hour. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I just wanted to, I'd seen a lot of videos out there on the GMing thing, and it kind of, I don't want to say it upset me, but it just got me to thinking, and I wanted to do my own video because I think there's a different view for everybody, and hopefully this gives you a little more information, a little bit more insight, and maybe we'll make it a little bit easier for you to decide to start GMing, because I really do believe everybody can do it. It is a learned behavior, and the more you do it, the better you will get at it. So especially if you have your group of friends that you've been playing with a long time, and maybe your GM is tired of GMing. I like to play every once in a while. I play in a Sunday night campaign with my buddy Brian. It's D&D, which I'm not particularly wild about, but I do enjoy playing with all my friends, that I've known for 20 years. So it's a blast to get to hang out with them and chat with them a little bit and be silly and have fun. So, and I think it's funny because I don't drink, and I'm playing a beer cleric. A dwarven beer cleric who makes his own beer. And I'm a brewmaster now. It's even better. So anyway, it's just ironic, I think. But back in my day, I used to drink quite a lot. So I'm working on the dwarven beard here. So, but that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much for listening and for all the support and the love that you guys send. I really appreciate it. Keep it up. Let your friends know. Let your family know. Whatever. Let's get that mini subscriberhood up to the horde. Up to 1,000 subscribers. That would be awesome. I would love to see that. We're getting there. And as always, a big shout out to everybody on the Discord channel. Mr. Mean Speaks. You guys are amazing, and I appreciate all the patronage and all the awesome questions and sharing of Kickstarter links and everything like that. We have a great community over there. So if you want to come talk about role-playing games and you don't want any drama or any politics or anything like that, come on over, man. We'd love to have you. So as always, peace and hair grease. And remember, Mr. Mean says be nice.